Great. Thank you, Zoom. And then let me just pull up my Facebook here so I can make sure our live is working. I have like 45 different windows open because multitasking is not a real thing. We like to pretend it is, and it just is not.
Yeah, and my brain is that brain that looks like those tabs where there's like 50 of them open and you don't know where the music is coming from.
Oh, I am the same exact way. Yep. And Devon is so graceful in just riding that wave with me at all times. So, okay, cut the Facebook. Okay, live on Facebook. Actually, we're going to stop because I'm live streaming it on my personal Facebook. It's a day. It is a day.
It really
So,
is, isn't it?
We're going to end this. Hello to everybody on my personal Facebook. This is not what we meant to do.
Hello, Kiyomi's people.
Let's stop that. My goodness. I've been waiting for myself to do that. I have just been waiting. Okay. Although no one on my Facebook will be surprised. Yep, there, I can see it on my Facebook now. Okay. Oh, goodness. Okay, center of live. Try it again. Live on Facebook. Not on Kiyomi. There we go. It doesn't help that I'm an administrator of like 5 different other pages. So
right. And then all those things compete.
There we go. Okay, it is setting up, but I'm going to go ahead and assume that we are live on Facebook World. So hi, everyone. Welcome to another weekly wellness workshop. So I'm here with Connie from Digital Bridges, and we are so excited to have her here tonight. So we are going to be talking about digital you, protect and prosper, and talking about how we can be safe online, but also Connie's going to talk about these really cool tools that we can use to help organize our lives and also access different tools that are online, like applying to for like funding for school and different things like that. But we do have this live streamed here. We're going to have it recorded. We'll have it on our YouTube page. So if you're not able to watch everything now, no worries. We will post the link a little later. And then we'll make sure that everyone has Connie's information for after the program in case you would like to reach out to her for any other questions or information. And then also a little plug, join us again next week at this time. Connie will be with us again, and we'll be talking about some emotional skills and agility around that. So Connie, I'm going to go ahead and pin you to our screen so everyone just sees your beautiful face and not mine. And then if you would like to share your slides, you are more than welcome to.
Wonderful. Kiyomi, thank you so much. And hello to everyone that is here with us, as well as to everyone that manages to hop on Facebook. Hello, good evening. It is a beautiful day here in Pittsburgh. We finally got a break in the weather today. I think everybody is kind of celebrating that fact and hopefully getting at least a few moments out there in the sunshine. Let me go ahead and share my screen here. There we go, and make this big. And tonight, this is one of my favorite classes to present, Digital You, Protect and Prosper. That is not what I wanted. I wanted slideshow, not share. There we go. All right, so Digital You, Protect and Prosper is all about the practical side of the technology that we use every day. So we want to make sure that we are both being safe with our digital technology and that we're also using it to the best of our advantage. So to introduce myself a little bit more, I am the Executive Director of Digital Bridges Pittsburgh. I'm also the CEO of Full Flavor Leadership, which is the consulting arm of my leadership, of my work. I have a bachelor's degree in marketing and a master's degree in competitive intelligence systems. That's where I learned all of this fun tech stuff and how to really navigate this world in a safe and productive way. I've been working in business development and marketing, helping entrepreneurs and small businesses for over 20 years now within those roles. And I am just so excited to be able to use these skills in a way that helps people to build better lives. That is the point of technology. It is to use these devices to help us to live better lives. So we want to make sure that we're going about that in a safe and productive ways. It's absolutely undeniable these days that we live in a digital world. I don't think any of us are really without our cell phone for more than a few minutes at a time anymore. And what is really a cell phone is actually a miniature computer that we're carrying around in our pocket. So there's two sides to that. Just like anything in life, there's two sides to it, the good side and the bad side. On the good side, with access to a computer, there is nothing that you can't learn, do, be, or accomplish. I can help you find resources to accomplish anything that you set your mind to using an internet connected computer. Now, the flip side of that kind of access is, unfortunately, there will always be bad actors in the world, whether we're talking about the physical world or the digital world, and it can be perceptively dangerous. We perceive danger or fear in things that we don't understand or in areas of our life that we're unsure of. But I want you to think about this like you're operating a car or even riding on a bus. Those are pieces of technology. Those are multi-ton pieces of technology that very fallible human beings, i.e. us, drives at high rates of speed down the road at all times. So you want to talk about dangerous. That is a kind of danger that can change your life or take your life in a split second. But is anybody here planning to stop using a car, stop riding a bus, stop using that kind of technology to get the benefit of getting from place A to B in an effective manner? I'm going to venture a guess and say everybody's chuckling right now and everybody's going, yeah, Connie, I'm not giving up my car. So you're willing to take the risks associated with that use of that piece of technology. So how do you do that and not die? Two factors. We're going to learn how to use the technology. You learn how to drive. You have to take a driving license exam. You have to know how to use the technology. And you learn how to mitigate the risks and handle any potential situation that may arise. So in using our car or bus analogy, tires can blow, accidents happen. We handle them according to what happens. We don't stop using the technology completely because of the benefits that it brings to us. Instead, we learn how to use the technology and learn how to respond if something does go wrong. So that's the same principles that we're applying here when it comes to our digital world and the tools we use and how we go about using them. So let's talk about a few core principles. Again, just like riding in a car or on a bus, we're going to take reasonable precautions. We're going to wear safety belts. For example, change your passwords minimally annually. And really, we want you to do it a little more frequently than that. We're going to talk more about passwords later, but this is an example of a reasonable precaution that we use when we're online. I want you to protect your sensitive information. And I want you to think about what you post, send, and share. Everyone has a platform. Everyone has a voice. Therefore, everyone has a brand. We're all projecting information out into the world. So we want to be aware of what it is that we're projecting out there and how it may be perceived by others. We also want to be very aware of the information that is coming into us. Because everybody has a voice, and in this country we have free speech, everybody has a voice. So misinformation, anybody can say whatever they want, especially online. So we need to verify, verify, verify. And then finally, the fourth core principle is, I'm sorry, I missed one here. Beware the trolls. When we're thinking about what we post, send, and share, beware the trolls. The trolls are those people that love to live on social media just to be negative. These are the people that will tear you down. These are the people that will post dissenting opinions just for the sake of doing so. These are the people that can really be, that can generate problems online. You see it also a lot with teenagers and cyberbullying that goes online. So as part of our thinking about what we post, we want to be thinking about who we're interacting with. And then fourth, keep learning. These are skills. You're not born with them. Nobody is born knowing how to use a computer or a cell phone. We have to learn it. It seems like kids these days are native to it because they're growing up with it. They're exposed to it from a very young age. But that learning has to continue in order to keep up with the technology. Technology is going to continue to advance and change. In fact, the trajectory, scientifically speaking, is that technology actually it grows on a half-life, essentially. So if it takes 2 years to come up with one advancement, the next time you're going to make the next jump is only going to take a year to get to that next jump in technology. So it's developing at a faster and faster pace. That trend is going to continue due to the nature of technology itself and the nature of the development that we're seeing. So we all have to be continuous learners, and we all have to keep learning. So let's go ahead and jump into some of these principles here. Let's go ahead and start learning about some common scams and how we can avoid them. Let's talk about our awareness, because when it comes to online, everything comes down to awareness. So we're going to start with two that are probably the largest categories of scammers out there. The first one is called phishing, and that's phishing with a PH. But if you think about it similar to phishing with an F, it's someone with a malicious intent trying to gather information from you, trying to hook you in to get information from you that they intend to use in a unapproved way. They're trying to take your money, they're trying to get your information. So it may be a credit card number, it may be a social security number. And often these phishing scams are actually very good. Some of these have gotten to the point where they very much mimic a real company. I've seen Bank of America emails that the logo is darn near identical to the actual Bank of America logo. So if you're not paying attention to what's in that information, you may think it's a legitimate email from your bank, and it says something that makes you want to take action. Something's happening with your balance. They need you to verify something. So you think it's legitimate. It looks legitimate. You reply to something that you shouldn't, or you click on a link that you shouldn't. That gives them backdoor access to something that you're not aware of. Another example that I've come across personally, and this one actually startled me myself, is the one day I woke up and I checked my email and I had a very credible looking email from PayPal, of all places. It looked like it was from PayPal, saying that I had purchased a $1,000 plus pair of Yeezy sneakers. Okay. Well, if you know me personally, you know I'm probably not a Yeezy girl, which is cool. It's no judgment on Yeezys. Everybody's got their style. Probably not my first choice of kicks, and definitely not for $1,000. So my heart drops into my stomach, but I pulled it back and I regained my awareness. So the first thing I did was check my bank account. Was that money actually coming out of my bank account? Was there a hold on my account for any amount of money or anything that I know that I didn't spend? Bank account looked fine. Okay. So that's step number one, being aware and being able to check your other sources. The next step that I took was that I logged into my PayPal account to look to see if it looked there, like anything was coming out or if it was showing any kind of purchase coming through for Yeezy sneakers. There was nothing on my actual PayPal account that gave me any indication that this was a legitimate email or that this was a legitimate purchase. It didn't look like anybody actually had my information. So from that point, I did not click on anything in that fake email. I reported it as spam, and then I blocked the sender. From there, for the next couple of days, I think I monitored everything really super closely for a little over a week to make sure that nothing came out of my account. So that is how I mitigated that risk. I came across a problem, the tire popped on the car, I got this phishing email. So rather than junk in the car, I had it repaired. So I made sure that everything was okay. I made sure that my accounts were secure. I made sure this wasn't actually money coming out of my account. And then I blocked the people. So I took those mitigating steps so that I didn't fall for this particular scam. So those phishing scams are where they approach you trying to get information from you. They may even have a name. I've seen phishing scams. They call it phishing with a spear, where they actually have a piece of your information or another. It may be a username. It may be just your name. And I got a cell phone scammy text message the other day that they actually had my first name. That one was a little creepy. Definitely went on the blocked list right away. But they're trying to get information from you. So remember, I said in those core principles, we want to make sure that we're protecting our sensitive information and we're being aware of what's going on. So the second major type of common scam is a catfish. Now there's a couple different types of catfish, but a catfish essentially is someone that creates a fake profile online that they've created for the purposes of interacting and creating relationships with someone else, usually for a malicious reason. If you look on the show if you look on the TV show that used to be on MTV called Catfish, a lot of those were romantic entanglements that were less financially exploitative, but they were these were emotional relationships. These people are trying to get you to fall in love with them, to believe their stories. These are the people that are in Europe and they fall in love with you and they just need help getting back, or they're trapped somewhere and they just need a few $100s to get them home. But then this turns into thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars. So again, protecting our information, being aware, we want to make sure we thoroughly check out anyone that we are interacting with online. We want to be verifying that pictures are them. We want to see them live and on video. If somebody that you're generating a relationship with won't get with you on a video call, won't come and visit you, and they're constantly giving you excuses for why they can't show their face to you physically, that is probably the biggest red flag on the planet that this is not something that is real. If you're only seeing photos of someone, if you've only got a voice on a telephone, but when they try to log on to a video, it's all black. There's every excuse in the book, and it always seems to be another sob story. Those are some of the excuse making and manipulative tactics that catfishers will use to pull you in to then be able to manipulate you. So those are the two biggest ones. From here, I'm going to give you a little list. We've already talked about the phone scam side of phishing. That's called vishing. I don't know why it's the V. That is as much a mystery as it is to anyone else. There is a shopper or employer needed scam. If somebody calls you and just offers you a job straight out, that's a red flag. Fraudulent links. When you get emails that seem suspicious or that are something that's not familiar to you, don't click on the links. Links are how scams and virusware and things of that nature are then able to infect your computer. So you want to be cautious about what you're clicking on and where it's coming from. And then one I've been seeing a lot more lately is the tech support and Scareware scam. This is where someone either calls you and says that they've sensed a problem on your computer, or you get a pop-up that says, we've scanned your computer and we find that there's this error or this problem with your computer, and you have to purchase something in order to clean up that infection. If that's not something that you pursued outwardly, do not engage with it, because no computer company, unless you signed up for that service, they're not tracking your computer. So nobody's going to call you from tech support, or unless you set it up, there's not software on your computer from a third party that just automatically runs. You have to set those things up, or they're installed by the manufacturer. If it doesn't fall into one of those two categories, it's probably a scam. So you want to be cautious about giving anyone access to your computer. And then the good old school Nigerian prince. This is also called a 419 scam, or an advanced fee fraud scam. This is the sob story of, oh, this money has either been left to you, or it's a Nigerian prince that's trying to get out of there, and they just need this small fee, and then they can and then they'll be able to send you multiple millions of dollars in receipts and in things that have been left to you. Anything that sounds too good to be true probably is. And the better it sounds and the more it sounds like it's too good to be true, look, those gems do appear out of time. Sometimes something cool really shows up, but verify, 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 investigate, investigate, investigate. It's all about that awareness and knowing what is going on around you and what you've asked for. All right, so we've learned to spot the fake people and spot the fake scams. Let's go ahead and talk about spotting fake news. So I've created a list of 4 questions that help you to spot fake news and decide what's fact and what's fiction when it comes to things that you're reading on the internet. So the first thing you want to ask, is this fact or is this opinion? We need to be able to pull apart the information that is presented to us today. Even our news networks, they no longer are impartial. There is typically a lot of opinion included in news features these days. So it is absolutely essential for people to, thank you, Devon. Devon said she's enjoying this content. I really appreciate that. So we want to ask, is this piece of information, is this news story fact or opinion, or what pieces are what? So an opinion includes statements that something is amazing or a failure, those qualifying statements, those descriptives that are going to vary from person to person. Something being amazing, those adjectives, you got to watch those adjectives, folks, because those are not facts. Something is, if you think it's great, there's going to be another 5 people that think it's nothing. So beware of those words when you see them in articles that are actually opinion-based words. A fact is something that is indisputable. There's concrete proof or scientific data that overwhelmingly supports the statement. Now, beware though, because even this gets complicated. Be aware of the twisted fact. Make sure that you understand the big picture and the depth of the issue, because there may be more to the story than like a headline states. So a fact is indisputable. There was trespassing on January 6th. Nobody can really dispute that. People went into areas and did things that they weren't supposed to. There was a failure at the Capitol on the 6th. Well, that's a little more of a matter of opinion, whether that was a failure or not, or to some people that may have been amazing. It all depends on which news station you're watching and which newscaster you're listening to. That's why we need to really research what's fact in it versus what's opinion and get the full scope of the story. One of those twisted facts, for example, I've been seeing a lot of articles lately that say the Biden administration and something about student loan dismissal. So this one has a little bit of truth and a little bit of like fiction, and not fiction, but it's a little bit of a twisted fact. Twisted fact is the example that I'm going for here. So they're saying the Biden administration did this, but the truth, or the larger picture, is that there are student loan forgiveness programs that have been in place for a very long time. It's typically after 20 years of public service at a nonprofit, you can request student loan forgiveness. So that is a program that has been in practice for a very long time. So is the quote Biden administration approving these loan forgivenesses? Yes, but it's not as a result of something that they initiated or something that they did independently. Now, to further complicate that particular issue, and again, why you need to have the big picture and the depth of the issue, is there are also changes that the Senate is trying to get through regarding the processing of student loans, what is going to be forgiven for certain students because of practices that have been deemed to be predatory. So that's a whole other faction of that same story. So when it comes to spotting fake news, we need to parse between fact and opinion, and then having a deeper understanding of that issue so we can understand if it's a real fact or if there's more to the story than what meets the eye with a certain statement. It's all about that awareness. So then the second question we want to answer is the fact from a reliable source. So in the age of the internet, anyone can say anything. If we're already able to distinguish fact from opinion, now let's qualify and make sure that our facts are from a reliable resource. And that starts with having a list of reliable resources that helps to distinguish what's real from what's fake. That is more about knowing the depth of the issue and educating yourself on what is going on in the world and making sure that you're looking at both sides of the opinion and both sides of the situation so that you can determine for yourself what's reliable and what's real and what is not. Now, our third question that we're going to ask, there we go. Are quoted sources accurate and reliable? So again, fact check, fact check, fact check. And I actually want to share with you two great resources for fact checking. And let me minimize my screen here for a second because I do have both of them open on my desktop because I want to share with you factcheck.org. This is a great one that will tell you if things that you're seeing in the internet are right or not. Another one is called Snopes. Snopes is a good research. So here's an example that I just brought up. There's a meme that's going around that claims McDonald's ice cream has xylitol in it and it's killing dogs and it's making bogus claims that have been debunked. So these are McDonald's denies there's any xylitol in it. It's not on the food list. There's no proof anywhere that this actually occurs. I've seen a similar story that went around the internet a few years ago that KFC chicken is actually lab-grown meat and it's not real meat. That's another one that was debunked. And people believe these things. That's why it's so important to make sure that if it sounds funny, or even if it doesn't, you want to verify the information that's coming to you, because we really don't know, because we have such an open system. We have to be able to think for ourselves, and that is absolutely a blessing because we can determine for ourselves whether or not something is truthful, and we can back each other up on that by evaluating those sources. So the second one here I want to talk to you that I just showed to you that I just flipped over to is called Politifact.com. Politifact.com is great because not only does it say yes or no, this is true or this is not, it gives you this cool little meter over here that tells you, it'll tell you if it's false, it'll tell you if it's partially true, it'll tell you if it's mostly true. And then in addition to just telling you yes or no, it gives you the background on the story and the details. So in this particular example that I'm sharing on my screen right now, it says in Canada, if you earn $100 and pay $33 income tax, you're left with $67. Then you buy $67 worth of fuel, you get a 48% tax fuel tax being $32.16 plus $6.70 on this gas tax. This means that the government just got $71.86 tax from your hard-earned $100. Okay, so that's the statement. It's a pretty bold one. Now we scroll down here. This is just blatantly false. It turns out, one, there's no such thing as a 48% fuel tax in Canada. And then it gives you sources for the fact check. It gives you a summary and it gives you the details. I'm a details girl. I want to know the full story. I don't want just the highlights. I don't want just the Twitter version. That's dangerous. Give me the context. Give me the background. We live in a culture where everybody wants things in like 20 words or less. Everybody wants just snippets of information. But I encourage you to go the opposite and to really dig into the subjects that are important to you and to really educate yourself and get a good full picture. Details are important. Researching that information and educating yourself is so incredibly important to being an educated person in our society. So now we're super savvy online. Nobody's getting our information. Nobody's sending fake information our way. We're not falling for those fake scams online. None of this fake news is getting past us because we know how to check our stories. We know how to see both sides. We know how to take a look at the full perspective and really be educated. So now how else can we protect ourselves? From here, we're going to talk about protection. Safety first, protect your passwords. This is your first line of defense. Strong passwords contain a combination of letters, numbers, symbols, and capitalization. Most places enact that and enforce that. They make you create it that way. The more random, the better. It's also important to change your passwords regularly. This is important because of the way web crawlers work and the way computers read the internet. Over time, programs can learn your password by guessing it piece by piece, by observing little pieces of information that go out over the internet. Over time, your passwords become more and more easy to obtain. That is why it's important to change your passwords regularly. Another form of password security is two-factor authentication. That one is when they send you a code. So you try to log into PayPal. PayPal says, hey, we see you, but we're going to send you a code to make sure it's you. So now you have to both have your password and they're going to send you an email, or they're either going to send you an email or a text message with usually a 4 to 6 digit code that you put in. So it's 2 factors of authentication, keeps you safer. Biometric identification. So just think about that word, biological, metric, so biological source of information. The two that are the most prominent right now are fingerprints. And now we're seeing that we're doing the face unlock as well now, and that technology is advancing. So those are another way of keeping your passwords protected. I actually currently do use let's see if you can see it here. I do use a fingerprint for my identification on my phone. Now that fingerprint is also backed up by a pattern security system. So if I'm holding my phone weird in this hand and I can't get that finger to the biometric identification piece for that fingerprint, I can actually swipe my little swipe code that I created and get into it that way as well. And that also backs up my security. Again, I'm going to remind you to be vigilant about your accounts. That awareness is everything online. Be vigilant, know what's supposed to be coming out of your bank. They will often catch any problems before you even know it. You'll get those messages saying we've detected fraud on your account. However, it's always best to be aware of what should and should not be in your accounts so that if there is a problem, that can be taken into account very quickly, and then it can be rectified very quickly. Because if a breach of your identity does happen, it is fixable. Yes, it's inconvenient. Yes, it's a pain in the butt. Yes, it takes time, and it can be a really difficult and even traumatic experience. But I want to assure you that it is fixable, and that you can get help in resolving any issues that come across with your account. And then the last piece here on passwords is to create your own acronym or mnemonic device. So an acronym is if we use the first letters of a phrase. And a mnemonic device is, for example, if you're trying to learn the Great Lakes of the United States, they come to spell out the word homes: Huron, Ontario, Michigan, Erie, and Superior. Yes, I remember that from 3rd grade, but that is what a mnemonic device is. So we're going to pick a phrase, a quote, a goal, or some other random statement that's easy for you to remember. No pets' names, no kids' names, no husbands. Think random. Include select numbers and capitalization. And then we ultimately do want to change it quarterly if we can convince ourselves to do so. I'm fully aware that we're all human, and every single one of you out there watching this right now is now rolling your eyes at me and going, Connie, there's no way I'm changing every one of my passwords quarterly. Do the best you can, but do change them at least annually to keep yourself protected. So an example of using this technique, the phrase is, I love chocolate covered popcorn. And I turned that into I, capital I, L, capital C, C, lowercase p, capital C, 27, because that was on the first license plate I ever had, and the pound sign. It's random. It's unlikely that somebody else is going to think of it. But if I can remember, I love chocolate covered popcorn, I'll be able to use that acronym to get into my accounts and remember my password. So that is one little tool that you can use when you're trying to remember to change those passwords and create new passwords. The next piece of safety is to protect your data. Protecting your data by keeping your device software up to date. Don't ignore those iOS and Android updates. They are important, not primarily for the functionality, but also for the security. Those are very important. Don't remove or alter any of the manufacturer's security features. That doesn't mean you can't take anything that's manufacturer loaded on there off. Oftentimes they load a lot of game stuff on there that you don't necessarily need or want on your phone. But when we're talking about security features, leave those alone. And only install software from known and reputable sources. So if it seems like your computer's acting up and you want to run a virus check, cool. Choose a reputable source, something like McAfee. That's some people would cringe at me for saying that one. There's a lot of them out there, but do your research and use a known and reputable resource, okay? Something along the lines of McAfee. I'm blanking out. Malwarebytes is a good one. I think Malwarebytes is still a pretty solid source for if you do want to run a virus and malware scan on your computer to make sure it's clean. Now, when we're in public, we also want to make sure that we're protecting our data. Public Wi-Fi is known for being insecure. It's open in nature, which means someone with even basic hacking capabilities will be able to find that. So so don't go to Starbucks, don't go to Panera and use their Wi-Fi and do anything password related. Keep that stuff innocent. Don't be transferring passwords back and forth over a public Wi-Fi. Be aware of your physical surroundings. People can easily look over your shoulder, and don't leave your devices unattended because they can be stolen. If you're somewhere safe and you're only walking 2 feet away and you can see it at all times, look, I've done that. I did that yesterday. But don't go to the bathroom and leave your laptop at the table. You never know who's going to walk in and just take it. That sounds really basic, but that is just a truth. We just don't think about these things. We get lulled into the day-to-day life, and it's totally human. But these reminders help us to make sure that we are really taking the time and doing sensitive work on inappropriate places, like on your home system. And if you're dealing with sensitive information, if you're dealing with large volumes of business information or something that you really need to keep private, considering a personal VPN. That's called a virtual private network. And that would be the next level of basic security over your home system. So that's how we want to protect our data when we're out and about in public. Now, this next piece is about protecting your visibility. So we're all putting stuff out there. We want to make sure that we're doing it in a smart way. Check your privacy settings for each social media platform and for each browser. Be mindful of who is in each of your networks. For example, the tone of LinkedIn is different from the tone of Facebook or Instagram. TikTok is the opposite end of that spectrum. It goes goofy. So be aware of who is in each of those audiences so that you can tailor what you're putting out there accordingly, and so that you don't get yourself in a situation where you're putting something in inappropriate places or people are seeing things that you don't want them to see. You can always alter who can see your posts. And the final piece about protecting your visibility is to check your privacy settings to think before you post. If you don't want it to be seen by anyone and everyone, it's better left unposted. If you think that people may take it wrong or it could be offensive, it's better left unsaid. Think before you post. If you don't want everybody to see it, make sure you change that setting on the Facebook post so that only friends can see it, or that only certain friends can see it. You can privatize, you can still be you, but maintain your privacy by being aware of those settings and on which platforms you're posting things on. So always be mindful of what you're putting out there and where. That essentially is how you're going to protect your relationships. Our technology impacts our relationships and our emotions much more than we give ourselves credit for. It influences how we feel. It influences how we feel about each other. It influences how we feel about others. Jealousy, depression, all of that stuff can be impacted by your social media and how you interact with your technology. So always be thinking about how you're posting, what you're posting, and does this represent how you want to be seen as a person? Think before you post. You have to assume that digital is forever. And then my final safety measure here is step away from the computer. Step away from the screen. Protect your health, protect your vision and your hearing, because our technology impacts our vision and hearing. I already mentioned depression and anxiety. Obesity rates have been tied to social media use. There is an instant gratification that goes along with getting the pings and notifications on your computer, and that alone changes the chemicals in your brain. Your brain actually gets a little hit of dopamine, the happy chemical, every time you get one of those notifications. Your brain goes, ooh, something new, or ooh, someone likes me. Our brains like that. And then when we don't get that, then we get depressed or we get anxiety about what it is that we're seeing. It also disturbs our sleep. Blue light is known to disturb our sleep. We're supposed to turn our devices off at least an hour before we go to bed. God knows I don't do that either, but I'm working on it. I've gotten myself to the point where I do turn it off, and then I go do my little evening routine, and that takes probably a good 30, 40 minutes, and then I go lay down. So that's a boundary that I'm working on myself. Screen time, it's just as important to step away from the screen as it is to use the technology in an intelligent way. And let's go ahead and get into this magical world of resources. There is not enough time here this evening for me to dig into all of the magical resources that the internet and apps have to offer. So we're going to talk about a few categories here. We're going to talk about networking and community resources. LinkedIn is an amazing resource for finding just about anybody professional. Facebook is a huge resource for everything from personal connections to staying in touch with your community, community boards, community groups, for accessing social services like this here today. We're communicating through Facebook as well as through Zoom to bring this resource through Center of Life. I'm so grateful for this partnership, and technology is making it possible. So we want to be taking advantage of all of these resources as they're appropriate for us. YouTube right now is probably one of the best places that you can learn about everything from social media and technology, to learning math, to learning about Canva and creating digital content for your business or for whatever it is that you want to do. And then we get into tools and apps that can serve us in numerous ways. Everything from social media platforms with different vibes. We've got LinkedIn on the professional side. We've got TikTok on the silly side. We can buy anything we want online. We can manage our time. If you want some specific resources for these, please reach out to me. It's Connie at digitalbridgespgh.org. I'm happy to talk through with you your specific needs, because really, again, I could do resources. I could probably do a day-long conference just on different technology resources. You can learn and do anything online. So what I really want to teach you is the critical thinking skills to find the information that you need. Use the Google machine. Google can help lead you, or you can use a different browser if you don't like Google, Firefox. There's lots of browser options out there. But it's about using critical thinking skills. Start with, what do you want to accomplish? So rather than digging into specific examples, I can give you some. So you want to manage your to-do list. There's one called Tasks that's really good. There's also CRMs like Monday.com or Trello. Health apps, my favorite is still MyFitnessPal. You can find every diet app in the world available on the Play Store or available on the iPhone store. But no matter what it is, it starts with critical thinking. What do you want to accomplish? Now we can begin to choose and get used to our tech. So what is your goal? If you know what it is you're trying to accomplish, now use that keyword to look up apps and tools. You can Google it, you can go right into the Play Store. So if I want to lower my blood pressure, I'm going to go on the Play Store and I'm going to search lower blood pressure. If I want to improve my mindset, I'm going to go in and type in mindset. If I want to learn to meditate, I can go in and type in meditation apps. If I want to learn another language, I can go in and Google language apps. Duolingo, Pittsburgh's first billion-dollar company, is a language app that will teach you just about every language that you can think of. It's really, really cool. I'm learning Greek on Duolingo. So decide what your goal is. My goal is to learn at least some pieces of Greek because my family's Greek and I boycotted Greek school when I was a little girl because I'm stubborn and don't like to be told what to do. And I regret that. So I want to learn Greek. So I'm using Duolingo to do that. Start small. Grow with the level inside of your organization or the task at hand. So you can start a CRM by starting with a spreadsheet that lists all your clients. You can start interacting on social media just by using Facebook and getting used to it and getting used to how that works. Start small, start with something that you're comfortable with, and that makes sense for what it is that you're trying to do. I want you to preview several options. There are different ways, there are so many different ways and different apps and different ways to go about meeting your goals. I want you to take a look at more than one option. So my dad always taught me to get at least 3 quotes, whether it's for home repairs or taking your car to get repaired or whatever it is that you're evaluating that is a new tool, car shopping, look at least 3 different options. So you want to evaluate those options. I want you to think about the tech tools that you already use and if they're compatible. For example, you might want to link your accounting software, if you're a business person, to your customer relationship management software, or your website to your social media. So if you're doing business purposes, you want to think about what you're already using and how they're compatible. Now from there, we're going to implement. We're going to connect everything in. We're going to pick a system that we're going to use, and we're going to play with it. Get familiar with your tools. We're not born knowing how to do these things. We have to gain familiarity with them. And if it feels like a drag and it feels like you just don't want to do this, you're not going to do it. So make it fun. Use things that feel productive to you and that will enhance your life. Play with it. Get to know it. Yes, that can be frustrating at first, but I want to normalize that frustration for you. Starting to use something new, starting to do something new is always going to be a little bit frustrating, always. But what I want you to remember is that that's normal, and that's how you get better at things. Babies don't stop trying to walk because they fall down twice. They get up and keep going. It's the same thing when you're learning your technology. You've just got to continue to get familiar with it and continue to use it. That's how you learn. I learn the best by messing it up. And I'll tell you what, because once you mess something up and then you fix it, now you really know how it works. Now you can teach it. Now you've really got that down. And let me tell you, technology, it can all be undone. Take that anxiety out. Throw that anxiety just right out the door when it comes to getting used to something. It's normal for it to be unfamiliar, and you just have to continue to use it. Give yourself time to adjust to the new system. Give yourself time to get used to it, to get familiar with it. Give yourself time to learn to walk. Because if you quit too early, which most people do, that's why it doesn't become a habit. They say it takes 21 days to build a habit. I think that's hogwash. I've also seen studies that say 60 days. I think it's at least 90. I think it takes a lot longer to build habits than what we give ourselves credit for, especially long-standing habits. So give yourself time to adjust. Don't give up and find what works for you. It's all about being able to meet the need, to be able to meet your goal. Do you want to find a job? Get on Indeed, get on LinkedIn. Do you want to find education? I just gave you a whole list of them. We can even hop back to this. YouTube, Udemy, LinkedIn Learning, Coursera. What is it that you want to accomplish? And then find those solutions using keywords and a little bit of critical thinking. Of course, I'm happy to help you. Make sure you're managing your brand that you're putting out there. I know that we are running at about time here, so I'm going to speed through these last couple of slides. Your brand is what I want to leave us on, because your brand is your purpose. I just want you to think about why it is you're using social media. Is it just social to be with your close friends? That's cool. Just know what you're doing. Are you looking to network? What are you saying about yourself with your posts? And then if you want to be an influencer, what's your niche? Is it comedy? Is it opinion? Is it fashion? Is it film reviews? I actually teach a class called So You Want to Be a YouTube Star. It started as a youth class, and now I'm teaching it to both youth and adults, because everybody wants to know how to refine what it is that they're putting out online, how to really own their presence online, and what the details are of doing that. Teenagers, of course, love that program, because if there's two things I know about teenagers, they all want to make money and they all want to be social media stars. And that is what I teach them to do, because being an online influencer is actually owning a business. Your digital content is your brand. So the two sides of this are, you can keep it really casual. Your brand is just who you are as a person, staying conscious about sharing things that are congruent with who you are as a person and who you want to project to the world. The big side of that branding purpose is maybe you want to be a social media influencer. Maybe it excites you to be a thought leader. Maybe it excites you to always be thinking about that value and to be trying to reach for that fame. I want you to just be conscious of it. So if you're just doing it for social purposes, again, just make sure it matches who you are and what you want to put out there. If you're going for big goals, I am here for it. I will teach you all the way how to go from having virtually no audience on up, because anybody can do it. There really is nothing you can't accomplish with smart application of digital devices, which is everything we've been talking about here today. Getting into that world of being a YouTube star or an influencer, there's typically two ways to build an audience, either paid or organic. Paid is pay to play, costs you money. It can have greater returns if you invest enough into it and if they're well executed. That's things like Google AdWords, Facebook ads, social media ads, and banner ads. The other side of that, and the one that I highly recommend, is organic growth. This is your hustle. There are so many free ways to get your word out there these days, whether it's about your business, whether it's about your music, whether it's about whatever it is that you're passionate about. We want you to share that across multiple platforms. You don't have to pay anything for this. We want you to use the audience of others by doing things like guest videos or blogs, building relationships, asking your friends to share, tagging your connections so that their people see your content. There's a million ways to promote yourself online. So if this is a casual interest for you, cool, but it really is also the sky's the limit. So I want to leave you feeling motivated. I want to leave you feeling that the world is your oyster. And my absolute final thought here this evening, thank you for bearing with me a few minutes over time here. Our final thoughts are, be a continuous learner. It is not optional. We're going to continue to learn about our technology. And these are two of my favorite pictures. These are from classes that I conducted when I very first started Digital Bridges. I conduct these classes, still do, in senior centers, as well as my running commentary is that I help everyone from 8 to 80 to manage their technology. And that's actually a little off because I know some of these people are even above that threshold. If they can do it, you can do it. If your 8-year-old can do it, you can do it. If a 15-year-old can learn about revenue streams online, which I teach them, you can do it too. It's all about being a continuous learner and taking advantage of these amazing resources that are at our fingertips. So that is my final thought for the evening. I want to make sure that we have the opportunity here for people to reach out if they would like to do so. I can even hear in the chat, my email address is connie@digitalbridgespgh.org. And I am just putting that in the comments right now in the chat, digitalbridgespgh.org. I am here for it. I am here for you. Please feel free to reach out. And I'll turn it back over to Miss Kiyomi.
So let me there we are. Connie, thank you so much for spending this time with us and just sharing all of this really vital information. It was really concise and great how you broke everything down. And I really enjoyed how you were also like, okay, so we talked about how to we talked about fact checking and we talked about, kind of how to navigate those things, but you broke it down into like steps. So that was really nice and easy to read and follow along with. So thank you so much for that. For any of our viewers at home that weren't able to catch the full presentation, again, we do have it recorded. We are going to share it on our YouTube page. And then I'm going to drop Connie's information here in Facebook world for all of you. But then it'll also be on our YouTube page, so you can reach out to her. But also, again, this is another plug for next week. Please join us with the wonderful Connie again. Next week, we're going to be talking about emotional agility. So really just kind of talking about building healthy boundaries and trust and resiliency, right? Which is so important just in general, but I feel like especially as we've gone through the pandemic, I know all of us have just really been struggling, with connection and our mental well-being, all of us, staff or community members included. So I look forward to being into that space with all of you. And thank you so much, Connie, again, for spending this time with us. You've been great.
I'm so happy to be here. I'm happy to always be helpful.
And I'll see everybody next week. Thank you so much.
See you next week, everybody.